Thank you so much. My name is Flavia Pereira. I am the founder of Anduba, and I'm super excited to be here. We're going to start this conversation with a brief story. According to Guarani tradition, there is this young, strong warrior who falls desperately in love. And to prove his worth, he decides to go into the forest to face a jaguar. He doesn't come back. So his mother and his beloved, who are very worried about him, go into the forest to try to find him. They find him, but he's no longer alive. And there is one more thing. His body is covered by this very incredible, beautiful spider web. It's like this shimmering cloak, and it's like full of patterns and geometric shapes and shapes of flowers. And the whole scene is very tragic, yet very beautiful. The mother, who is heartbroken, decides that despite her pain, she's going to teach herself how to recreate what the spider made. And she goes thread by thread, pattern by pattern, flower by flower, learning how to do this, turning her pain into beauty. And that's the origin story of Nyanduti. Nyanduti means spider web. For the Guarani people, it's a lacework tradition that has been passed down through generations of women of the Guarani people who live in the border of Brazil and Paraguay. Miguela Moura is a young Guarani artist who lives in the south of Brazil who carries that tradition. She wanted to paint the Nyanduti. Because for her, let's go back here. For her, the Nyanduti symbolizes the power of the mother who, like a spider, has the power to create a web that can sustain life and connect generations. But before she fully committed to painting the Nyanduti, she wanted to make sure that it would look good in a large scale. So what she did was paint the walls of her bedroom. She spent the weekend painting the walls of her bedroom to make sure that it was going to look good. And it did. So she created the painting, we created the pattern, and here it is. She went ahead and told the elder women of her community that their Nyanduti was going to be in the walls of the United States of America. And those women got emotional, you can imagine. It's their stories, their traditions, their ways, in places they never dreamed that even visiting. And that I wasn't there when this happened. Miguela told me about it, but this is a thing that a moment I go back to when people ask me why I do this work. So let me tell you how I got here, because it's not an obvious path. I've built a career of 20 years in the corporate world. I did consulting, and then private equity, and then tech was the final one. And I was in and around systems that were all about efficiency and growth and optimization, you name it. And everything was fine until it wasn't. In my early 40s, I felt really disconnected from meaning, from purpose. There's this thing inside of me that was missing, and I couldn't quite name it, but I also couldn't let go. So I made a few decisions. I left the corporate world. I went back to the Amazon in Brazil, where I was born, and I started working with artists and artisans from the region, selling their crafts here in the States. And working with people who lived in the forest and from the forest did something to me. It allowed me to see the world, their ways, from their perspective. And it started shifting things in me. So I told you about Miguela. Now I want to tell you about two other artists that I've been working with who have also had a big impression in me and have also shifted my beliefs and the way I think about the world. This is Steven Yazzie. He's Diné, Navajo, also Laguna Pueblo descent. He lives in Denver, and he is a big deal in the art world. You guys should Google him. His stuff is stunning. Before he starts working on his big paintings, he spends about an hour and a half focusing his intention. And he does that by painting the landscapes of the Navajo reservation where he grew up, the canyons of the Navajo reservation. He's making sure that his breath, his intention, his heart, everything is aligned with the beautiful thing that he's going to put into the world. So Steven's meditation is now a pattern that is going to be in rooms in different places. And I imagine maybe people are going to be rushing through those places and maybe having a 12-minute lunch, looking at their phone. But his intention is going to be there every day on the wall. A little reminder, even if people don't notice it right away. This is Temoc. He is a Nahua artist from Mexico, from the mountain regions in Mexico, in Veracruz. And he told me that in his community, when there is a big life moment, like a birth or a graduation or a marriage or a wedding, that people give to one another this bird, this wild turkey called guajolote. And when they give the bird, they're not only giving the animal to one another, but also what it represents, the abundance of the natural world, the idea that nature is generous and that we have enough. That's what he paints. He doesn't paint accumulation. He doesn't paint having more. He paints abundance. So I can't help to think that one day in an office space, people are going to be talking about how to keep growing the business, what to do next quarter, how to conquer the world. And maybe the guajolote on the wall will be offering a different word, enough, right? So you can see that Miguel's work, Stephen's work, and Temoc's work, they're all very deep, very meaningful, full of layers. And they're all rooted in a very specific tradition, culture, place. The truth is, I didn't know any of that when I started working with indigenous art. I was attracted to it because it was freaking beautiful. It was so stunning. The intricacy, the patterns, the vibrancy, the color was just like calling me. And you guys know this. You design for it. You know the power of beauty. Beauty attracts, right? People get attracted to beautiful things. And beautiful things, and Matt, forgive me because you're going to talk about information a lot, but beauty has this thing that information doesn't have. It bypasses the side of our brain that judges, that qualifies, that takes sides. It can lower our defense mechanisms and allow us to get curious and say, wow, this is stunning, tell me more. And this is exactly what happened to me. So when I was exposed to this beautiful work, I got curious about who made it, why they made it, where they came from, what it all meant. And asking those questions allowed me to be exposed to different ways of seeing life and different perspectives. They were very powerful and very strong, and some of them stayed with me and changed me for the better. So now, for instance, I know that I do have time to slow down and appreciate the little things that happen every day. I also know that creation doesn't belong to just a few people who are called artists. We can all create. We can all bring beautiful things into the world. And my good friend Stephen Yazzie taught me that what I bring to the world is just as important as how I bring it to the world, right? And I never thought of those things as business principles, these ideas or reciprocity, generosity, circularity. That's not what I learned in business school, and that's not what I saw out there in the wild for 20 years. But once I saw those ideas, not as theory, but as lived experiences, I realized, wow, that's a much better way to do business. So that's in the DNA of Anduba. That's how we work with our artists. That's how we partner with them. That's how we pay them. That's how we work with, we choose our materials. That's how we work with our suppliers, because it's just better for everyone. Okay, so we are now talking about the next 20 years, right? How to design for the next 20 years. And before I go there, I just wanted to pause and say that when I decided to bring this beautiful art into the built space, I was looking for what design for good looked like. I wanted a reference. What was good? How do you make something good that is beautiful have a positive impact? Quickly, I found this community. I found you guys. It was a very quick search. And I was just mind blown that this existed. I just couldn't believe how much work you have all done and how much knowledge and how much technology and creativity you have put into creating this very strong foundation that everything can be built on. And when I think about the next 100 years, I think I love the idea, as Lindsay was presenting right now, not only yesterday, like reaffirming this thing that we believe in, reaffirming our values, but continue to evolve. And I think that's why this group is so relevant and so inspiring. But if I have a say on what else to do on this ecosystem, I would say that we need to add a layer. And this layer for me is about connecting us to one another in our humanity. It's about connecting us to really the land that we're building on and reaching that part of us that feel, not the thinking part, but the part that feels, right? Because you guys know better than anyone that the spaces we're in, they really influence how we feel, how we think, and how we act. And imagine if those spaces gave us a message of connection, intention, abundance, not scarcity, abundance. I don't know what would happen if those ideas were everywhere. I would love to see those ideas at the gym, at the office, at people's homes, at hotels, everywhere. I'm not sure what would happen. I have a theory. I can tell you my theory, but I have a theory. But I do know for certain what happened to me and the journey that I've been on since I've been exposed to these ideas. We started this conversation talking about a spider, a mother, gathering different threads and putting them all together and building this beautiful web of possibilities of a future. And I think that's the perfect metaphor for all of us here. I see all of us with our little threads, with our knowledge and backgrounds and ideas coming together, putting them all together, building the whole, knowing that all the threads shape the whole, and making this thing a web of possibilities, a better future for all of us. And I think that's just beautiful, and I love that we're all here intentionally doing this. But the question that I want to leave you with, actually it's two questions, is that I think it's important for us to consider as we're building this web, is what threads are we bringing in and what threads are we leaving out? And the second one is, what messages do we have the opportunity to bring into the whole to make it better for everyone? Thank you so much. This is a dream come true. Thank you.